Hello comparison test viewers, and welcome back to another All Cars Everyday video. I'm standing here with the 2020 Ford Fusion, which was redesigned in 2013 and facelifted in 2017 and 2019. This is sort of an atypical product cycle for a vehicle, as usually most of them get a full redesign every 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, this makes sense for the Fusion as it's being discontinued after 2021. Why is Ford discontinuing their bread and butter midsizer? Well, sedans in America have been doing not so hot recently, and Ford decided that it's not lucrative enough to continue the Fusion model line. It's a shame really, but maybe there's hope for the car the Fusion aims to beat, the Chevy Malibu. This is the 2020 Chevrolet Malibu. It was redesigned in 2016 and facelifted last model year. General Motors is cutting out the Cruze and Impala as well as the Cadillac CT6 from its lineup, but hasn't announced any plans to do the same with the Malibu. That would make it the sole entry in this class that's American after the year 2021. Let's hope this car is good. I'm evaluating these cars on a scale from 1 to 10 in 7 different categories for a possible total of 70 points at the end of the video. Furthermore, I'm comparing these cars at the upper $20,000 price points, which means I'm comparing the Chevy Malibu LT to the Ford Fusion SEL. With that said, let's delve right into the brand new Ford. The Ford Fusion SEL starts at $28,690. On the exterior of the car are 18-inch alloy wheels, heated mirrors with auto-dimming and a memory function for the driver's side, and rain-sensing windshield wipers. As for exterior lighting, the Fusion has daytime running lights, and both the headlights and tail lights are LEDs. To get into or out of the Fusion, it has a smart key that allows you to lock and unlock the car from the door handle without ever touching the key fob. Ford vehicles also have the keypad on the B-pillar trim that allows owners to punch in a key code for access to their vehicle, which comes in handy if you happen to lock your keys in the car. On the inside, the Fusion has a 10-way power adjustable driver's seat with 2 memory settings for different drivers and power lumbar adjustment. The passenger gets 6 ways of power adjustment, and both front seats are heated. Leather is an option, but the ActiveX trimming on the seats is pretty good to begin with. The rear seats fold in a 60-40 split for a couple different options for storing cargo in the back seat and trunk area. The SEL has dual-zone automatic climate control, as well as an audio system with 11 speakers. Those are complemented by Sirius XM radio and Ford's Sync 3 infotainment system in the dashboard on an 8-inch screen. Sync 3 is intuitive but a little slow compared to what I've seen from Chevy, Volvo, Tesla, BMW, and others. The SEL trim has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard. Simply connect your phone to the software and the screen will mimic what you see on your phone. The gauge cluster has 2 4.2-inch LCD screens on either side of an analog speedometer. On the left are reconfigurable vehicle functions like RPM, fuel range, trip distance, and more. On the right are controls for the media and phone settings, as well as a compass. Inside also has a tilt and telescoping steering column, on the end of which is mounted a leather steering wheel. Convenience features on the Ford include push-button start and an app called Ford Pass Connect that allows owners to start, stop, lock, unlock, and check their vehicle functions like location and fuel level remotely from their smartphone. The rear view mirror dims automatically when it detects bright lights, and the shifter is now a rotary dial that some people love and some people hate. There's a nice storage space for trinkets below the center console that has 2 USB ports and a 12-volt power outlet, and there's one more of those 12-volt outlets in the rear. The car has 4G LTE Wi-Fi, a universal garage door opener on the driver's sunshade, and Ford My Key, which puts the car in valet mode. Finally, the Fusion also comes with a power moonroof standard. The Chevy Malibu LT starts at $27,495. On the outside, the wheels are 17-inch alloys, the mirrors are heated, and the Malibu has a similar keyless access system to the Ford, minus the passcode entry. The headlights are halogen on the Malibu, but the DRLs and tail lamps are both LED. Once inside the car, the Malibu has an 8-way power adjustable driver's seat with lumbar support, and the passenger gets 6 ways of manual adjustment. The seats are premium cloth, both front seats are heated, and the rear bench folds the same 60-40 as most sedans. The infotainment system in the Chevy runs on an 8-inch screen like the Fusion, but like I mentioned, it runs faster than that car. It too has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, and Sirius XM. The climate control system is identical in features to the Fusion, and it also has a tilt and telescoping steering column as well. The audio system is not as good with 6 speakers, but the car keeps pace technology-wise with push-button start, remote start, and 4G LTE Wi-Fi. The inside has one 12-volt outlet, one USB port on the front, and one USB-C port next to it. The Chevy has OnStar on a subscription basis, which is good for safety. However, the Ford includes remote access to the vehicle on an app on a subscription basis for a little bit, whereas the Chevy doesn't include that yet at this trim level. The gauge cluster in the Chevy has a small screen in the center displaying key vehicle information with an analog tachometer and speedometer flanking it. The last major feature on the Chevy I haven't mentioned yet is the teen driver system that allows parents to monitor their car's location, speed, and audio volume when being driven by their kids. It will even send parents a report card of their child's driving habits. Kids, convince your parents to buy a Fusion. Now let's assign points on a scale from 1 to 10 for each of these cars for value. The Fusion was about $1,200 more expensive than the Malibu, but I would say it offered more than $1,200 worth of additional features over the Chevy. It has bigger wheels, an auto-dimming side mirror, LED headlights, a powered passenger seat, a better audio system, remote vehicle services, and a sunroof, just to name a few. The Chevy doesn't have any of these at the LT trim. I think the Ford deserves a 9 for value, and the Chevy's going to get a 7.5 for having less features, but also being less expensive. We'll be taking a look at the active safety features on each vehicle and their crash test ratings from the IIHS. Standard on the Fusion are automatic high beams, a blind spot monitoring system with cross-traffic alert, a lane keeping system, and pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking and pedestrian detection. The Fusion is rated good in every category except in the headlights category where it got poor, and the ease of use for the child seat latches where it got marginal. The Malibu comes only with automatic emergency braking standard. You'll have to pay extra for more safety technology. It got good ratings like the Ford everywhere except small overlap on the passenger side and the seat latches where it got marginal for both. The Ford clearly dominates this category with much more active safety technology and somewhat similar ratings for safety. The Ford again gets a 9 and the Chevy gets a 7. The Fusion SEL has a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with automatic stop-start, making 181 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque. This power is routed through an old, yet still decent, 6-speed automatic transmission powering the front wheels. From a standstill, this powertrain can reach 60 miles per hour in 8.9 seconds. The Chevy also has a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with automatic stop-start, but it's short on power compared to the Ford with 160 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of twist. However, it's mated to a continuously variable transmission, which is probably why the Chevy is faster than the Ford, with a 0 to 60 time of 8.3 seconds. That said, car enthusiasts typically don't like CVTs because they don't have real gears and instead use infinitely swappable ratios that can be annoying. CVTs are used primarily for fuel economy gains, so we'll go check that out in a second. Either way, the two will score the same in this category with a score of 7. The Ford Fusion SEL gets 23 miles per gallon in the city and 34 on the highway for a combined score of 27. In this category, the Chevy is dominant with 29 in the city and 36 on the highway for an average of 32. An additional 6 miles per gallon in the city is a huge gap in this segment, and I think we can once again credit this difference to transmission choice. 10 for the Chevy, 7.5 for the Ford. I get this statistic as objectively as I can from Consumer Reports magazine, which purchases each car and runs a battery of private tests on each vehicle to get their ratings. The Fusion is rated as better than average from the organization, and the Malibu gets a rating of average. I assign a point to each step up or down in reliability rankings, so the Ford gets a 9 and the Chevy gets an 8. This is a subjective category, so the winner I pick here could be completely different for others. I personally think the Ford looks the best, and I think it has looked the best in the segment ever since its 2013 redesign, followed closely by the Mazda 6. Though the grille could be considered a ripoff of Aston Martin, its sleek proportions and coupe-like roofline do wonders for the overall exterior styling. I actually liked the 2013 styling better than the updated 2019 cars, but nonetheless it still looks good. The Malibu isn't particularly slouch either, and it has come miles since the previous generation car. Next to the Fusion though, it just looks a little less classy. That's hard to convey in an average consumer sedan, which is why the Fusion's styling is so impressive. On the inside, things are a little bit different. The Malibu is clearly a newer car, with the Ford's conservative styling showing its age. It's too blocky and not inspirational enough. The Chevy has sinewy lines, less buttons, and the screen takes more of a risk in its placement than in the Fusion. Not to say the Fusion's interior is ugly at all. It's just starting to show age that I think the outside of the car has done a much better job masking. The Ford will get an 8 in this category, and the Malibu gets a 7.5. Our last category we are going to evaluate is called usability. This category was made to see how well the sedans do the job they were intended to. It will include trunk space, turning radius, and handling. The Fusion has 16 cubic feet of cargo space and 102.8 cubic feet of total room for its passengers. The Malibu is nearly identical with 15.7 and 102.9. The turning radius of the Fusion is 18.8 feet, and the Malibu again is nearly identical with 18.5 feet. Even in handling, these two are pretty evenly matched, with the chassis of the Malibu standing out more, but the powertrain of the Ford being praised over the Malibus. The Ford steering is weighted nicely but is pretty numb, where the Malibu has slightly more feel but turns less naturally. I know that GM has made huge strides in chassis development, so I'm glad it's showing on the Malibu, but it's time to figure out that steering wheel. Either way, these cars were too evenly matched in this category to score them differently, so they both get a 9. Here are the final points for each vehicle. As you can see, the Ford won by a margin, aided mostly by its value and safety. That's not to say the Malibu isn't a decent car, and between these two I wouldn't advocate too hard for one over the other if you have narrowed down your options to the American midsize sedans. If you're looking for a fantastic value proposition that's probably only getting better as dealers offer incentives toward the end of its life cycle, the Fusion is your car. If you're looking for a fresh new design with technology that isn't already outdated or maximum fuel economy savings, the Chevy's probably your car. Either way, I think currently there are better offerings than the Japanese and Korean competitors, but that's a comparison for another day. Thanks for watching.